got a burn today, which was someone asking me if I already know how to do that. But I will try to teach you. The new talk is tools to set up great Python projects, the 2025 update. So why 2025? Because in 2023 I was at PyCon Portugal in Coimbra, and I was talking about my favorite tools. So I was using the Poetry to manage packages. I was formatting with black and isort. I was already looking at the new kid in the block, ruff, to link my code, and I was using pytest. So that was 2 years ago. I was happy with it, but new tools come in and an excuse to do a new talk that I thought wouldn't give me much effort, but it gave me, because I tried to improve it. So what changed in these 2 years from my side? There's a lot of new tools, but the tools that I'm using right now, personally and in my job, I'm managing packages with UV, which has gained lots of popularity lately. I'm reusing ruff to format because they have added also formatting capabilities to it. I'm using a bit of a niche package, reorder-python-imports. I will tell you why, and not just isort. And the others, still the same, still using ruff and still using pipx. So, one thing I already explained in my latest talk, but I keep saying this, it's very important that you centralize your configurations and make these tools very easy to run. The way I see it and the way it works best is you write the rules in pyproject.toml, and most of the tools are already ready to read from there. And you don't need to specify, you don't need to file them. You just run ruff check, it will go by default to your file and apply the rules that you wrote there. So that's great because not only when you run it through the CLI, but when you tell your ID, I want to format with ruff, it will check the same file. Your CI/CD, the scripts, your devs, your colleagues, they will also get this. So I think this is a point that is the difference between playing with these tools and or a really pleasurable experience. So that's the overview. If you don't like it, maybe time for a coffee break, but if you did, I will go into the details. So starting with the package manager, so the goal is to manage packages a bit more carefully than this. What I think, what I'm looking for in a package manager is that it's easy to manage packages or dependencies, so really easy to add, change versions, delete. That's the minimum, I guess. But I also find it very important that it locks all your sub-dependencies. So if you don't lock, it's like you say, I want requests 2.3, okay. Then you do a deployment and it has a sub-dependency, it does some update. If they are nice, there is no breaking change, but you never know. So I really like to have this log file. When I want, I update or some process to update, like renovate, and I think that's the best thing, control your updates. So why the switch to UV? I find it the easiest. It's really easy to use. Not that I had many problems with Poetry, but I do know people that they had some problems with Poetry, and they found it easier. So I think that's a good point. It's faster, that's for sure. So I think that's the theme of the company, Astral. They are rebuilding all tools in Rust, and they are quite faster. So it's nice to just see, it's not even a second. It's installing stuff, it's good. And the main point for me is all-in-one. It's managing your lead. You can manage leads, you can manage tools you use occasionally, and you can manage Python versions. So I think
and it works great, I would say. So instead of knowing rituals, some of package managers are also starting to do multiple of this, but I think this one has provided the best experience. So I don't want to tell my own story, but yeah, so Python is known for iterating on package managers. Everyone is using a different one. This here is not even 10%, but it's been kind of my journey. So pip install things globally. It's a mess if you have multiple projects. Pip plus virtual env, that's already helpful, but I do find we have a few bootcamps or not completeness. Then I would say poetry. It's my personal experience. I know that others have quite similar features, pyenv, pyenv, others. But then at the end I was using these three tools: poetry plus pyenv plus pipx, and that someone onboarding Python projects, I would tell them, okay, you don't need to do like this, but it's how I do it, and I would show a lot of comments and such, and they were like, oh, it's a bit too much to start with. I was like, yeah, I know. It's supposed to be friendly, but this part is not so friendly. But I think with the UV, it's friendlier. At least I've had a good experience so far. So just for a bit of looking in, it uses in PyProject. You can use in the CLI, just run some comments, or you can edit pyproject.toml directly. It's better in the CLI, honestly. But it's going to generate this file, and then it's also on the side with your dependency constraints, what you want to have directly, and then on the other side, your log file. So usually it's the most up-to-date sub-dependencies as long as they obey the constraints. So this is the overview, but there's a lot more to it. So now about code formatting. So my goal is avoid messy code, reduce manual effort, and also not to, I think best of all is to have good defaults and don't worry about it. To me that's the main thing. I'm using Ruff. I find it's fast, good defaults, and similar to UV, it does more stuff, so it also links, so I think that's great. And then about reorder-python-imports. This one I heard about it, I was a little on the fence, which is it does one import per line, at least by default. That was, I thought, why just write more lines? The goal, the advertised goal is that you have fewer Git conflicts, that as it forces different lines, it also reduces the number of conflicts. And so far, that's also my experience, that there was the occasional conflict, and now it's much rarer. Is it a big deal? No, but if it's a few conflicts fewer to fix, that seems great to me. So, I came up with an example of badly formatted code. I'm not sure how readable it is back there. But basically I put lots of white space, some long lines, and whatever. It's not the worst code I've seen, but yeah, it's also not the best, definitely. So if you run, I think it's Ruff format or something, it's going to take care of a few things. The import command from RPI has split the imports in more. We have fewer blank lines, and also the big function, it's also split into multiple lines. I think it's not like the biggest deal, but it's nice to have just a tool do it for you. You don't have to worry about it. And especially different people, each one is not formatting in different ways, and that's very messy. So just one way to format, I think that's nice. So about code lifting, I think it's like
before Gen AI giving you suggestions and reviewing your code, you had good old code linters, and they can tell you about they can do some static analysis and give you some tips about how you should do things or how you should not do things. So yeah, that's the goal, to avoid basic errors. And why am I using Ruff? Well, this one didn't change, but the reason is it's fast, supports many rules, and as I said before, it's also a formatter, so 2 in 1. So, grabbing the code from before, so it's reasonably formatted, but the linter, at least with the rules that I usually use, it will throw some warnings. I'm not sure if anyone has any idea about some wrong things here, or could be improved.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's one of them.
And the rest is
Okay. So,
smaller font.
okay, sorry about that. Default list, that's also a good one. The F string, that's a good one. It's a bit sneaky at the bottom. But yeah, with the rule, it also depends on the rules you are using. I'm using this one. I'm not going to enumerate. I have an example, a GitHub at the end, if you want to see it a little. But yeah, it's going to say you are using the from type import list. On recent Python versions, you don't need this. You can just use the native list. You have star imports. You have unused imports. You are trying to use a mutable structure, so that's the list parameter at the function. That can be buggy if you don't know. You're probably doing things you don't want to. There's an F string that doesn't have any placeholders, so why is it an F string? And we get the message at the end that 5 of these would be fixable automatically with the -- fix. One I wouldn't recommend, but with the -- unsafe fixes, I usually don't do this one. But the rest, you just see the error and go fix it yourself. And I find this list pretty reliable. Yeah, so I have the new code. If it's hard to read, this one is also hard, but it's basically fixing some of those mistakes. So now, about testing, that's very important. You break things and not in production, hopefully, but yeah. So this one I'm also repeating. I also find it a bit different from the others. I consider dropping it, but yeah, if I presented 2 years ago, I present it now as well. So I think testing is good. I think most would agree. With automated testing, you reduce bugs, hopefully, and you avoid manual testing, always the same stuff, or forgetting to test some stuff and you need to test it. So with pytest, I find it easy to set up tests. There's also some nice features like reusing the objects with fixtures and not just global stuff, and also parameterizing. So you put some parameters in your test, you can assign different names according to those parameters, and I think that's nice. I think nowadays it's like almost the default. Not many people are using the unit test. They are installing pytest and they roll with it. So here's an example with unit test. If you want to know if 5 equals 5, I think it does, but better to test. So yeah, with unit test, it's like a bit verbose. I'm not sure about this main because I'm usually not using unit test, but that's how I saw the recommendation. Yeah, so a handful of lines of code. And with pytest, just 2, also more Pythonic, using the equals equals instead of a specific method. So I find it quite nice. Okay, so as I was saying, I find the drift in different configurations really painful. You push some code to CI/CD, it's throwing errors. You pull back in, run the scripts, everything seems fine, and then you are troubleshooting this. So I think that that's better avoided for sure. And what I find is if you define in pyproject.toml, this is already a standard that is widely adopted, the tools will automatically look into this. So you define once, you don't even have to point the tools to this, things will just work. So what I'm saying is the comment on the top, it's really messy. You are defining all flags in the CLI, your IDE, your CI/CD. You need to repeat this. Much better is just run things. Then, of course, you need to define them somewhere. Here is my list for pyproject.toml. I also have a link to a GitHub with this. But yeah, this is a bit of a simplified setup, but I find these rules already quite good. And yeah, this is basically how I see it in the end. You define your pyproject.toml, and then everything will look into this by default. Then just maybe this extra step, which is maybe you write a script or a make file, a pre-commit with the steps that you want to enforce. Maybe the formatting, the linting, maybe even the tests if they are reasonably fast. And then you can have, okay, the devs should run it locally and they can fix things really fast. And the CI/CD should also apply the script and warn, for example, if you may configure that a pull request will be blocked if the script doesn't exit with success. So that's what I wanted to present, just a quick summary. I'm using nowadays UV, ruff, reorder-python-imports, and pytest. Set all the configs in pyproject.toml, and then a bunch of tools can read automatically from it. And what I really like about this setup is you get reliable deployments with UV, helpful checks, ergonomic testing, and consistent configurations. So, not last year, 2 years ago, I didn't include type checking, and I got lots of questions about it. So this year I'm not including either. But I'm including some thoughts on it. So maybe I like type checking. The odd about it is at the start of a project, I'm not caring too much about types, still doing a lot of exploration. When a project goes big, there's lots of errors about types, and it's a bit annoying to go iteratively. I've heard people talk, oh, there's ways to do it. I haven't found really ergonomic ways to do it. Maybe I haven't tried hard enough or something, but yeah, it's just my experience. So there's 2 new kids on the block, so which is Ty and Firefly. So guess what? Someone wrote them in Rust. They look promising. They say they have different philosophies. I'm leaning towards Ty because it's from Astral. I'm already using some tools from them. But Firefly, they say they are doing some automatic inference and such. Also sounds nice. Yeah, and that's it. So my name is Duarte Pompeu. I'm a software engineer at Fidzai. I have some links you can access my LinkedIn. You can also see short code about this talk. And I guess now would be the room for questions.
I won't be asking about typing,
Thank you.
but I'm curious about pre-commit, if you use it, if you decided not to use it, or how that fits in.
Yeah, that's a good question. So maybe I can go back a few slides. So here I just talk about scripts. I think there's different ways you can configure your checks. I've used like shell scripts. I've used make files. I've used pre-commit. So I think pre-commit is valid. It's a way to run all of this. The way I usually configure is, as I said, without parameters, so everything in pyproject.toml, and then you just configure it, run this and that, and it will capture those flags automatically. One pain that I had was sometimes the repos about kind of custom pre-commit or with stuff out of the box. I usually simplify and I just say, run this in system mode or something, and it's like, it just looks for the executable and it runs it. I find that a bit better because if you are upgrading versions or something, if you forget to, if you only upgrade in one and not the other, you are going to get drift. So if you say, use whatever is in the system, it's whatever you defined in UV. When you want to update, updates every place. So yeah, I think it's a good tool. I have my way of using it, but yeah, it's valid.
So you mentioned Makefile, but have you tried any other of these more newer task runners, like Just, or there's a few others? Do you have any thoughts on those?
No, not really. Just PyTest. There was a talk about it. Hypothesis, I've also gave it a try. I do have trouble finding sometimes the good use cases for it, but it's really, really interesting, and I think for some use cases, really powerful. But no, I'm not really familiar with other testing tools.
Okay, thanks.
But do you recommend them, or?
I was also just curious, so.
Okay.
No more questions, so thank you.
I think there's one more.
Hello there. Do you have any suggestions for something to generate documentation?
Yeah, I guess that would also be a good tool. No, not really. I'm not usually using that, generating documentation. But I think that's a good point. That
I used Sphinx a bit, but it's weird. So I was looking for something better.
yeah, I'm usually.
Well, no more time for questions. Thank you.
Thank you.